We continue to be under the influence of a large ridge across our region, and we have a couple of lows that are trying to poke out of the Pacific Northwest to try to knock this down, but ultimately they seem to be having a little harder time than what they were previously predicting. Hello everyone, I'm meteorologist Brad Warner from Region Weather Live, your YouTube source for weather across the Dakotas and Minnesota. And yes, folks, even going into Wednesday, we continue to just be bothered by this ridge here that just is trying to move out of the way. We have these systems. We have this next one coming in off the Pacific Northwest, trying to push it off. And even as we see here going through the day on Wednesday, that ridge just really isn't going anywhere anytime fast. It's more maybe until we get into Thursday that it breaks down just enough to allow a cold front to sweep through and maybe bring some showers and storms across the region going into the weekend. Now, one thing that ridge is doing, however, is allowing some of those higher dew points back into the region. As you can see, those 60s, those blues starting to poke back in as we get later into the week and into the weekend. And temperatures will also continue to be warm as we're talking into the 80s and 90s or so, but then as that cold front kind of sweeps through, that'll help clean things out. Now, it's really not until Wednesday night and going into Thursday that you see this cold front move out of Montana and spread eastward, or move eastward rather, particularly going into Thursday. You can see as it kind of sets up going into Thursday afternoon, basically sits right across the central parts of the Dakotas. And so that's where I think probably is going to be our best chance of seeing some showers and storms going into Thursday. And so leading up to that, really not a whole lot expected for Tuesday. We might have an isolated storm that comes out of Canada and kind of stretches and maybe just makes it into the far northern portions of North Dakota going into the evening hours here Tuesday night. And then going into Wednesday and into Wednesday afternoon, those storms begin to fire off into Montana along that cold front and begin to push eastward into North Dakota. However, as they do move eastward, they're running away from the better upper level support as we go into the evening hours. And so while we'll probably hear some rumbles of thunder and see some shower activity out in the west, we're not expecting anything heavy, anything severe. So that's the good thing as it continues to move eastward through the overnight hours. And I think as we get deeper into the night, those showers and storms will likely dissipate. Now, getting into Thursday, here we go. Those showers and storms kind of begin to fire up along that cold front there you see across central portions of North Dakota, kind of central and western portions of South Dakota, but they don't move very fast at all. We have some southwesterly flow going on going into Thursday, but ultimately that ridge just doesn't want to move a whole lot. So the only thing really driving these storms eastward will be that cold front kind of pushing to the east. So these storms really, there's not a lot that's going to push along. So I kind of fear a little bit as we get into Thursday afternoon and Thursday evening, we might have the potential for seeing some areas of some localized flooding within this region just based on some of these storms firing up. There's going to be plenty of heat and humidity. But I think the main threat ultimately is just going to be the heavy rains associated with these storms. Now that front will gradually push eastward. Those storms will dissipate going into the nighttime hours. But even as we get into midnight and beyond, you can see really those storms don't make a whole lot of headway according to some of the models here. They just barely kind of make it into eastern portions of North Dakota beyond midnight. So like I said, not real fast moving storms. Now, going into Friday and into the weekend, we have this low, this little disturbance coming out of here that's going to basically block itself off and become just a small little closed low out here as we get into Friday. And you can see more so going into Saturday and somewhat into Sunday. And while we do have this low pressure system sitting here, there's not a whole lot of winds at the upper levels to really drive anything, to really get any big storms going. We will have the humidity, we will have the heat going into the weekend, but ultimately we just have this little closed area here that just kind of sits and very slowly pushes off to the east. And so going into Friday afternoon, we'll continue to have this cold front down there and this low kind of further to the south that's going to close itself off. And so we've got a chance of showers and storms across the eastern portions of the Dakotas into western parts of Minnesota going into Friday afternoon and Friday evening. Now, some of these going into the afternoon, we might have an isolated storm here or there that might be severe with the with the 1 to 2 inch hail and the 60-mile-per-hour winds. Perhaps if a stronger storm down to the south can make its way northward and just make its way into South Dakota, that could potentially also be a little bit of severe weather coming into South Dakota late Friday. Then as we get into Saturday, we see that low just kind of continues to move eastward. We'll probably have some showers and storms across mainly the southern portions of our region here going into Saturday. Also a few showers and storms into northern parts of Minnesota, but not as good a chance as in the south. And then continuing on into Sunday, again, just a few showers and storms, but not much really showing up. And so our best chances going through the week, again, is going to be Thursday along that frontal boundary as it moves eastward here. You can see where some of those rain showers really begin to pile up, 1/2 inch to 1 inch, maybe even some localized heavier areas. As I said, those storms are really going to be slow to move off, so it's going to be interesting depending on where they fire up. Some of you could receive quite a bit of rain, maybe more than you're looking for. And then more so as we get into probably Saturday, our best chance is going to be down in that southwest Minnesota, eastern parts of South Dakota is going to be our next best chance, at least for Saturday, for seeing any type of precipitation of a 1/2 inch, maybe 1 inch. In some lucky areas. I think maybe some of these, this widespread 2 inches probably overdone. You might see some localized areas see that, but I don't think we're going to be looking at that wide spread of an area that's going to receive that much rain. So if you're going to be one of the lucky ones, good for you, as you guys definitely need it down there. If you saw some of the graphics that I posted online here a day or so ago, basically, here's what we're seeing, that moderate to even some severe drought starting to creep into southeastern parts of South Dakota. And again, some moderate stuff just trying to poke into southwestern parts of Minnesota as well as east central parts of Minnesota. So some of you really could use some of that rain that's coming here going into the weekend. Otherwise, beyond this weekend, we've got this deep low pressure system trying to build in the Pacific Northwest, really trying to knock down this ridge. But with the help of El Nino, we continue to have this jet stream down to the south that's been pretty persistent. Now, some of the models are kind of disagreeing what exactly is going to happen going into next week. Some of them kind of keep the moisture down to the south, more so really keeping those summertime humidities and the heat down there, as is typical going into this time of year. Not really allowing it, however, to move north. But the American model, the GFS model, a little more aggressive with this, allows some of that moisture to come back in. We have some of the stronger southwesterly winds, as you can see, this jet stream really developing into the week. And if that were to happen, now we're looking at more of an active pattern going into next week. So ultimately, we're just going to have to wait this one out a little bit to see exactly how things pan out next week. Hopefully, we get into something that is a little more active, get some rain across our region. But as of this week, it looks like Thursday is going to be kind of the best chance for those storms to fire up along that cold front. Some could be severe with the hail of 1 to 2 inches, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. But like I said earlier, I think the big thing we're going to need to watch out for is going to be the locally heavy rain, that localized flooding in some of those areas. And then going into Friday and Saturday, mainly down into southeastern parts of South Dakota, southwest Minnesota, is our best chance for seeing some showers and storms. Some of those could be severe as well. As I said, 1 inch hail, 60-mile-per-hour winds. Nothing big, but just a few storms here and there that could cause a few problems. Hopefully relieve a little bit of that drought. It's not going to be a big drought buster down there, but it's going to at least help a little bit. So that's good. And as I said, we'll wait and see kind of as to what exactly happens going into next week. Man, that ridge has been just a bully. It just doesn't want to go anywhere. We're trying to get rid of it, but it's been difficult, and the models are really having a hard time figuring out how exactly to handle this. Obviously, as we've gotten closer to this time period, we knew things would shift a little bit, but not quite as much as maybe we were hoping. So as for me, the severe weather enthusiast, just can't quite get there. Just can't quite see that severe weather coming through, those big storms. So we'll see. Maybe next week I'll be in for a treat. I know the farmers sure as heck don't want it. So I'm probably just speaking on my behalf. All right, everyone. hit the thumbs up button, nail that like button. Please subscribe down below if you haven't already. Join, become a member. That would I really would appreciate that if you did that. Helps keep this channel rolling and going. Other than that, for Region Weather Live, I'm meteorologist Brad Warner, and everybody have a good day.